Welcome to Haunt Weekly.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And this is Haunt Weekly, a weekly podcast for the on-attraction entertainment community. Whether you're an actor, owner, or just plain aficionado, we aim to be a podcast for you. And we return to you this week to dream a little dream. Or more specifically, 6 big dreams.
Yes.
So I guess none of these are actually little dreams, are they?
No, they're not.
All these are kind of past the pipe dreams,
Yes.
oddly enough.
And unfortunately, we're not talking about the new Sandman that dropped this weekend.
Yes, we should.
That's the wrong dream we're talking about.
Even
but
though that has been...
I know that a lot of our listeners are probably well into the series as we are.
Yeah, we have only seen the first 6 episodes now.
Mm-hmm.
So, no spoilers in our inbox, though I have a feeling we'll be done sooner rather than later.
Yes.
We are really enjoying it. And honestly, I highly recommend it. I highly recommend the books, too. First and foremost, I think the books are well worth reading, and there are some changes between the two. I would say it remains more faithful to the books than I expected.
Yes.
It overall remains very faithful to the books.
It does.
But there are some changes that are worth noting, and some of them are things they couldn't do in the books.
Yeah, maybe we'll go into this
later,
like a later episode.
This could be a whole episode in its own way, discussing, because I think it's an interesting in how times have changed between, what was it, mid-90s realistically?
Yeah.
To now, so like 30 years. It's not even that fucking long. But anyways, if you're interested in that episode, let us know. You can find us at hauntweekly.com or Haunt Weekly on Twitter, Haunt Weekly on Facebook, youtube.com/hauntweekly is the YouTube channel. You can also find us wherever you get your podcasts. That includes Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Stitcher. But follow closely at facebook.com/hauntweekly. We'll be announcing upcoming live recordings, hopefully. Mm-hmm. Once I kick this cough, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Well, on that note, most weeks when we don't have a guest, we ask you all a question of the week. And last week's question of the week was a bit of a doozy.
Yeah.
We asked you,
who do you think we should have on the podcast?
Yeah.
And you guys gave us great answers.
Way too many, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, a lot. So here's the thing. We've already contacted some of them.
Yes.
Some have already contacted us.
Yes.
And if you're on that list and haven't been contacted by us, don't like lose hope or anything. If you saw it and like, why haven't they messaged me? It's because we're a little overwhelmed right now.
Yeah.
And it's not just Haunt Weekly that's overwhelmed us. It's our day jobs and other stuff. We're having to take this piecemeal. We've got your info. We will contact you.
Yes.
When we if something comes up and we're able to, and we have time basically.
Yes,
so,
and thank you to the listeners for joining in on this and giving us some great ideas.
Yeah, it was a really, really good one. However, I do have to disappoint Greg. Mm-hmm. We will not be doing an episode where we interview each other.
Yeah.
That is what we do every week.
Yeah, we have talked about an actual interview with us.
Yeah.
And
if you want, there have been multiple podcasts where we have been interviewed.
Right.
We were on Code Yellow, for example. Mm-hmm. We've been on a couple others, too, where we've been interviewed. Big Scary Show.
The wrestling one.
Yeah, the wrestling one that I completely forgot the name of. Yeah, it's been a day. I'm sorry.
We really should have prepared a list.
I didn't expect to say that out loud.
Okay.
That's not my fault. So I'm literally having to fly off the top of my head because I'm still feeling sick. I'm not feeling COVID sick. I'm feeling stomach sick now. I think either a stomach bug's going around the house or we ate something bad because she and I have both been.
Yeah.
And I have a questionable GI tract on the best of days, so it's not been going spectacularly. I'm not going to lie to you. But anyways, so yeah, sorry Greg, we won't be interviewing each other, but there's plenty of places you can catch interviews with us and follow up there. But that said, this week's question of the week I think will be equally interesting.
Yeah.
What is your dream for the haunt industry? We're going to have 6 of our own coming up, so we're not going to talk too much about our answers here. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this is a good one, because what would you like to see happen to the haunt industry? Big picture, long-term type thing.
Yeah.
What are your dreams? Let us know. Once again, facebook.com/hauntweekly, twitter.com/hauntweekly, hauntweekly.com, and youtube.com/hauntweekly. Let us know. I'll be interested to hear what you all would like to see happen next. Mm-hmm. Well, here's the deal with this episode. We love the haunt industry very, very much. We're very passionate about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we're home haunters. Yes, we made the conscious decision to not become pro haunters. We did a whole episode on that.
Right.
Why we're not even attempting to turn pro. But we do love the haunt business, and we love the haunt industry concept as a business.
Yes, and if you don't believe us, you've got 348 other episodes to go listen to find out how much we love it.
Realistically, I think we've shown the love. I don't really feel the need to say this now at this point, but I want to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the main thing is I would love for it to be bigger, more influential, and a place where more people can feel included and be creative and earn a living.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want. And we're going to talk more about all those points in a moment. But basically, the approach I have is I don't think the haunt industry has reached its max potential.
No.
In fact, I know it hasn't.
Mm-mm.
I'm very certain it hasn't. Some of that is our fault as an industry.
Yeah.
Some of that is we've screwed up.
Yeah, and I think that part of that is, for a long time, there was resistance to change.
Yeah.
And adoption of new technologies within the haunt industry, but I'm seeing that change now.
And there was also a bizarre resistance to collaboration and working together.
Right.
Even with haunts that were in no way a competitor.
Right.
I mean, I would say it's only been within the last 10 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
We've really seen the doors to collaboration open in a big, big way. And I think that's going to help the industry broadly.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that what I'm seeing, at least, is even in local haunt communities, that competitive, we have to keep our secrets, fight for our actors, we have to be protective of every little thing, seems to be fading.
I hope so, because...
It's not gone.
No.
But fading.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've got a lot of room to grow still.
Yeah. But also, some of the reasons we're not at our full size or our max potential is not our fault.
Right.
There's a lot of issues, and some of them we'll be discussing, that we didn't do. And are just challenges placed upon us from outside forces that we can rise up and fight against, but are not our fault that they're there.
Mm-hmm.
So to that end, here are 6 big wishes we have for the haunt industry. And yeah, if you're a regular listener of this podcast, I don't think any of these will be surprises.
No, there's one that's really, really cool.
Yeah, one that's really, really cool. But still, I'm really excited to be talking about each and every single one of these and going through them with some degree of fine-tune.
Yes.
Okay, number 1. More year-round haunting.
Yes.
This is especially hitting hard right now, as a lot of haunts are releasing their schedules for 2022.
Right.
And what am I seeing over and over and over again? A limited number of nights.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. Halloween will always be our biggest time.
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to be. It's a bit like saying, retail stores will always, have Christmas as their biggest time, or the holidays in general as their biggest time.
Right.
Of course they will. Retail outlets typically do about 25% of their annual business in the month between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah.
That's life. That doesn't mean they're fucking closed the other 11 months.
No.
That's the point.
Yeah.
See, right now, a typical haunt runs between 8 and 40 nights per year, with most averaging right around 20. 13th Gate, who just released their schedule, are doing 21. Mortuary's doing 22, and that seems to be the range we're talking about. You have 22 nights per year to earn 365 days of revenue. For those playing along at home, you're open only 6% of the nights.
Yeah. That seems untenable.
Not
great.
Not great. Yeah, that seems less than ideal.
Yeah.
So separating us some from Halloween gives us some really awesome opportunities to both have a better presence in our communities, but also expand our revenue by being open more days.
Yeah.
And to that end, we're seeing a little bit of that already.
Mm-hmm.
We've been seeing an increase in Christmas shows, which I think Christmas shows are the next obvious step.
Yeah, I agree with you. Christmas is next. A few have gone with Easter shows also.
And St. Patrick's Day's been a few. Those two were a little more complicated because of the nature of both of those holidays.
Right.
We've seen some 4th of July ones. Also, weirdly complicated these days.
Yeah.
But especially for a haunt.
Yeah, well, it's interesting to me because a lot of the extra shows, the ones outside of the Halloween season, aren't the full show.
No.
Because they can't be because they're working on
they're doing tear down and rebuild.
Yeah. So I don't know how to get around that issue.
Well, one thing I think that would be a good idea is, and this is one of the areas where Leonard Pickle and I actually agree on something. We need to, more haunts need to stop being one giant haunt.
Yeah.
And start being 2 or 3 or 4 smaller ones that you can sell individual tickets to and have very different experiences.
Yeah.
Because one 30-minute haunt that is kind of the same thing, even though it shifts and changes. Obviously, you go to different sets and scenes, but it's very much similar to itself, is a very different experience than 4, we'll say 8-minute-ish haunts. Mm-hmm. Each very, very different and unique, and each with a different queue line, each with a different approach, and each with a different ticket.
Yeah.
I think, but anyways, and that way, what my idea there is, say you got 4 haunts on the property, you do 1 each year as a rebuild.
Yeah.
And that way, on your holiday shows, you still have 3.
Yeah. So that's still most
yeah.
of the walkthrough.
Yeah, that's still the vast majority of your walkthrough. I think that could be really good. But anyways, we're also seeing haunts open up more year-round businesses. Sing along if you know the song. Escape rooms, axe throwing, event spaces, movie shoots, sluicing.
Yeah.
Well, we only know one that does sluicing, but I have to mention it because it's kind of fucking awesome, I have to admit.
Yeah, well, and there's one that's also starting canoe trips soon.
Oh.
An outdoor trail. Whenever we did our whole how to build outdoor revenue year-round for haunts, that was one of the things that came up.
Yeah, that was one of the episodes I think we should have done the least, not because we're not passionate about that subject, but we don't outdoor.
We don't, not really.
No, we're not outdoor people.
No, outdoors hot.
Outdoors hot and got bugs, especially here.
Yeah.
Got bugs and shit.
Yeah.
Dude, you want to eat alive? It's a little bit after dusk right now. Step outside of New Orleans with shorts on.
Yeah.
Let me know how that goes for you in about 5 minutes. But yeah. But still, the main attraction, the main moneymaker for most of these places is still the haunt. And a longer haunt season, a longer true haunt season is in order. But yeah, more nights is more money. But part of that is we have to separate this thing in the customer's mind that haunted house equals Halloween.
Yeah. Instead, we need to focus on haunted house equals horror experience.
And one of the things that'll mean is you'll have to keep the product fresh during the year as well. You'll have to mix things up. Mm-hmm. Unless you're appealing to a tourist crowd and never getting the same person twice.
Yeah.
Which, hey, if you're in a tourist town, why aren't you running a year-round haunted house?
Yeah, most of the ones that I've seen in tourist towns are year-round.
Or at least tourist season.
Yeah.
Like, I think the ones in Myrtle Beach are the typical Myrtle Beach tourist season. They'll go until Labor Day, basically. Basically, They stop when regular haunt season starts to ramp up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but yeah. I do not know for the life of me why there is not a year-round haunted attraction in New Orleans.
No. I don't know.
There's 8 bajillion fucking ghost and vampire tours.
Yeah.
You can't walk through the French Quarter without tripping over ghost and vampire tours.
Yes. They are large.
And that's any time of the day.
Yeah.
So why don't we have a year-round haunted attraction?
I don't know. It's weird because this is like a destination for spookiness. People come here because of the spook factor.
I was surprised to find Galveston had one.
Yes.
And we don't. Not because Galveston's like, ooh, Galveston. No, Galveston's a pretty neat place in its own right. I'm not knocking Galveston either. But it's like you said, Galveston, even though maybe it should be, is not a destination for spooky shit like New Orleans is.
No.
I mean, we're the town most famous for spooky shit. No year-round haunted house.
Yeah, at least in the U.S., I would say that we're...
Yeah, it's just a little crazy. But anyways,
yeah.
So yeah, more nights, more money. Let's see if we can expand the haunt season.
Yeah. And if we're able to do that, then that brings us to the second dream.
Yes.
Of more opportunities for full-time employment.
Praise be. Speak the gospel, sister. Lay it on me.
Yeah, because the vast majority of haunt workers are seasonal, and that's because you don't need them the rest of the year.
Yeah, they're working literally the nights that you're open. They're working those 21 nights.
Yeah, there's usually a core group that works on the builds and things, and they get year-round work out of the haunts.
Yeah. And you got to remember, your haunt actors and makeup artists and those people that are working those nights, you're paying them, and you damn well better be paying them.
Yeah.
You should be ethically, legally paying them.
Yes.
But you're paying them, but just know that the money you're paying them is not enough for them to make it a career. Be reasonable about it.
Right. And there are very few haunt owners that we've talked to that their core group, that's their only job.
Yeah.
Like most people, that's their night job.
Yeah.
That's their night and weekend job. That's their side hustle. It's not their full-time employment.
No. Yeah, that's... We know owners of what I consider to be very successful haunts.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry about the cough, y'all. GI issues. We're sick to it. I'm not doing well. Sorry.
Yeah, it's back. We're back to that.
Sorry, I just want to make sure everyone knows why that's going on, because I've had the cough on before and people are like, are you dying? I'm like, no, I'm not dying. It's not COVID even this time around.
No.
Well, unless the stomach issues are caused by COVID. Then I guess it could be. But anyways, but we've known plenty of people who run very successful, very large haunts, and some of these top ranked, that work, quote unquote, real jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is because the haunt's profitable. Sure, they're able to keep the doors open and keep their actors paid and pay all their bills, but that's about it.
Yeah, there's not a large profit margin
at
a lot of the haunts.
Well, maybe if we're open more than 6% of the nights.
Yeah.
There'd be an opportunity for that profit margin. But yeah, this ties directly into that first point, as you said. If we can build a more diverse and less seasonal industry, more full-time or at least long-term job, at least like long-term part-time jobs, would be created, and people would actually be earning either their income or a significant part of their income from it. Mm-hmm. And I think that would be a powerful thing.
Yeah. Definitely.
And that's like when everyone talks about going pro, that's what they talk about. They want to earn a living haunting. They want this to be their job. They want this to be what they do, from the time they wake up to the time they go to bed. They want this to be their job because that's the passion. Mm-hmm. And I completely understand that passion. I would love that to be true for me too.
Yeah.
But we took a look at the reality of the situation and said, no, it would not be for us.
Yeah.
There were just too many barriers in the way between us, A, doing it, and B, if we did do it, actually enjoying it and finding it fulfilling.
Right.
So, yeah. But if we can build that more diverse and less seasonal industry, that's going to make a lot of long-term jobs available. That's going to keep the creative the creative people in our industry. Because that's one of the things. We have all these great creative people come through our haunts. They might work a year or two as an actor or a makeup artist or, whatever.
Yeah. And
then they nap off and they take the skills they learned and take it to theater. They take it to TV. They take it to movies. They take it anywhere, to painting or to anything. They take it somewhere else. We have a brain drain because we can't keep people employed.
Right.
And that's really, really sucks because of the third dream. Mm-hmm. The third dream, and this is a huge one to me. This has been huge. Anyone who knows, has been following Haunt Weekly, probably can almost say exactly what I'm going to say here. I've harped on stuff.
I don't think people have thought of it from this perspective. That's why this one's exciting to me.
Okay. Well, then I'll just say it. The third dream is for haunt industry to be an intellectual property powerhouse akin to movies, comics, and TV. It's that simple. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm the first to admit this may be a pipe dream. But right now, as of today, to my knowledge, no character first created in a haunted house has been made into a major film or a comic series or a book in a context where basically the haunt got paid royalties.
Yeah.
Because what you see these days is comic books and books get made into movies and TV shows, and they pay royalties for that. Movies get made into books and comics on the backside sometimes. Mm-hmm. We've all seen those adaptations written.
Right.
Basically, everybody is licensing each other's IP in this upper echelon. Mm-hmm. And we're not engaged in any of that.
No, we're taking their IPs.
Yeah, we are purely a consumer of IP right now.
Yeah.
A consumer of intellectual property. We take, very often, almost always, illegally, characters, stories, and ideas from books, movies, TV shows, etc.
Mm-hmm.
We take these things and we do it under the excuse that, they're recognizable and it's what the people expect.
Yeah.
Now, if that is your excuse, I want to pause a second here and say something very simple. You're the one that sets the expectations. You're the haunt builder. They are puppets in your world. You set their expectations, not them.
Yeah.
You have that job. Set the expectation higher. Give them something to shoot for.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, God, I've never understood this. Oh, of course we have to have 80,000 Pennywises in this haunt. People expect to see Pennywise. Why?
Yeah.
Because you, over the years, have kept using whatever horror character is popular, whether or not it fits in, and now people expect it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the reason. You created it.
Yeah. Yes. And, we've talked about building characters. We've talked about, how you highlight them. Why not partner with a writer or someone to do their own story, to flesh them out in something that people can take home, and then it's like a star sighting whenever they come to your haunt and see them. I
had an idea years ago, and it was for a haunt we were looking at the possibility of helping out and working with at one point. Their trail haunt. And I had the idea that they had, and I believe still have, a huge problem with overusing and misusing copyrighted and trademark characters from elsewhere. But my idea was, hey, let's get you one of your own.
Yeah.
And the idea I had was I was going to write what looked like a pretty serious research piece and post it on some site somewhere.
Yeah.
And then they would share it on their social media saying, hey, I just read about this weird legend in our woods. What's this about?
Yeah.
And then, kind of start building it from there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's because you are a storyteller.
Yeah.
I mean, that is what our haunt is. It is your stories that we bring to life.
Yeah. And I look at haunting as a storytelling medium. And as we've discussed in the past, it's a storytelling medium where the customer is the hero.
Yeah.
They're the survivor. They're the champion of it.
Exactly.
And so you've got victims and bad guys in the haunt, and the person walking through plays the part of the hero or the survivor or the person that got out. And I think that's really, really important to think about because I've gone through some amazing haunts. Beautiful haunts, head to toe, decorated, top shelf shit. Everything looks great. Cannot believe this was done for a haunted house. Dear God, these people are crazy. And there's no narrative.
Yeah.
There's no connecting tissue. And the thing about it is, if they had just stopped for 5 minutes, maybe they hung up one less panel,
Yeah.
and thought about the narrative and the story, they could have built one around it, and it could have been pretty good.
Yeah.
But instead, it's just disjointed. This is a scene, exit.
Yeah.
People remember stories. And here's the thing. I'll tell you this. If you're a video game player, and we haven't mentioned video games. Video games are another area. We haven't seen a fucking haunt character put in a video game yet.
Yeah.
That's something else. But if you play video games, think back to a game that you really enjoyed. What do you remember most about it? It's probably one of two things. It's either very specific, finite moments, very interesting action moments, or it's the story and the narrative of the game. You remember the tale.
Yeah.
I can only tell you a handful of moments from The Witcher 3. But I could sit here and recite pretty much the entire story of the video game.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the same with the game I just finished, Contrast, which had a very good story and an interesting game mechanic. But yeah, how do we make franchise franchise-worthy characters in haunted houses?
I want Halloween Horror Nights to be asking for our characters.
Exactly.
I want Universal to go, excuse me, can we have whatever the character's name is?
Exactly.
Can we have Bernie Baxter for a minute?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you can borrow him. Who are you going to play him?
And, haunted houses are like written to be in graphic novels.
Oh God, yes.
Like that is like just the easiest transition I can fathom.
Yeah.
You know.
And the thing is, once you get that, this is a huge money making opportunity.
Oh yeah.
There's so much money to be made in licensing IP.
Mm-hmm.
There really is. Especially when you, like, the snake eating its tail, you bring it back on itself. You sell copies of the comic book in your gift shop. You sell them in your online store.
Mm-hmm.
You sell copies of the DVD in the movies, etc.
You get the character made into little miniature characters.
I mean, I remember right after Rise was featured in, the movie.
October.
The House is October Built.
Yeah.
Which we did not particularly enjoy as a film.
Yeah.
But even though they were in it, I remember for years after that, they were showing the film, or scenes of it at least, in the queue line, and selling DVDs of it in the gift shop.
Yeah.
Because why the fuck wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly.
But why wait for a Hollywood film to come knocking to ask to use your sets when you can give them something to license?
Yeah.
You know? Give them something to license. Give them we can do this. This really isn't that difficult. Especially since there are so many of us. I'm sure someone listening to this podcast right now is fully capable of creating a franchise-worthy character that is unique and original, and it's just a matter of marketing it and promoting it in a way that gets the attention of Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's giving it that backstory. It's giving it that edge. It's giving it that USP, that unique selling point. It's a matter of finding that. Someone listening to this podcast can do that. I guarantee it. And you probably are the person. I have no idea who I'm talking to, but you probably are.
Yes.
And I'm just saying that this can be done. It is not that crazy. But here's the thing. I mean, we could be licensing these properties out, and it, like I said, would give us something unique. It's something no other haunt can do legally.
Right.
It's something nowhere else can take from you. And it gives your haunt a real sense of star power. Oh, this is the home of blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I gotta check that out.
Exactly.
Oh, they made a film about him or her or whatever. We gotta check that out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. But all we're doing instead is we're just praying movie studios don't file cease and desist letters.
Yeah, we don't get in trouble. For those of you who aren't creating original characters.
Yeah. I mean, so many haunts, so many otherwise great haunts, leaning this heavily on copyright protected characters. You're lucky that we're such a small industry. Because the thing that you should be fearing is that one day your haunt or the haunt industry in general is going to get big enough that the movie studios and so forth will take notice and start thinking this is a market we should be really pushing for licenses.
Yeah.
And those licenses will not be cheap.
Nope.
And the lawsuits and cease and desist letters will fly free and clear. We haven't hit that moment yet. We may never hit that point, honestly. But the thing is, we're all working for a bigger haunt industry, even though a lot of haunts probably really don't want that, even if they think they do.
Yeah.
Which that brings us to the next one.
International growth in haunting.
Yes.
Right now, haunting is very much a U.S.-centric thing. Like most of the big haunts that you hear about are here. There are a few exceptions. There are haunts operating in Australia, New Zealand, Scotland, England, much of the Middle East, and Japan.
Yeah, and basically we got pretty, like if you look at the map and put pins in everywhere that haunted attractions, it looks like we have great international coverage.
Yeah.
But we don't.
No, because it's only one or two haunts in each of those places, and they're big places.
Like I just said, I put in the notes, much in the Middle East, there's 3 haunts open in the entirety of the Middle East, all in shopping malls.
Yeah, and that's a huge area.
That's not a small number of people.
No.
And we still haven't made inroads into China and Japan and India that I'm aware of.
Mm-mm.
And those two are the 2 most populous countries. Between them, they have almost half the world's population.
Yeah.
North of a third, between a third and a half of the world's population. So, yeah, there's big swaths of the world we haven't tapped.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, those industries that do exist outside the U.S. are even smaller than the United States. We were just making fun of how small we are.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, guys and gals, the U.S. haunt industry is so small that if you took all the revenue every haunt made and combined it,
Mm-hmm.
you would have less revenue than one blockbuster movie with an international release.
Right.
So
Until you make your own.
this is why I want to get in on that action, man.
But the other one advantage that international haunts have is that they aren't stuck with just the Halloween season.
No.
Because a lot of the places don't celebrate Halloween like the U.S. does.
And if they do, it's a very casual, laid-back thing.
Yeah, it's not. It's not the same.
No, it is not.
From all accounts.
It is not the month-long commercial holiday we see.
Yeah, so whenever you see haunted houses in other countries, a lot of times it is a longer season or a year-round event.
And one thing that's also true, that a lot of them don't consider them haunted houses or haunted attractions.
Right.
Like, okay, you remember our trip to Alnwick?
Yes.
And we went to Alnwick Castle, north of Newcastle, England. Had a great visit.
Yeah.
But as we were hanging around, someone said, "Hey, do you want to come do this ghost
horror
show thing?"
Yeah.
And I guess they took one look at us and said, "These are the two."
Yeah.
Which, I mean, they're not wrong.
No.
I can't fault the accuracy of the
No.
statement. You know, they were definitely right. But I'm like a little bit, 'cause like these were the last two tickets given out, and they gave them to us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's a little weird. And literally, like, an Alnwick Castle gets hundreds, if not thousands, of visitors a day. And this was a particularly busy day because Jesse James, who was it? JJ, whatever her name is, that singer that was popular back then.
I don't know.
Was doing a concert, so it was pretty busy there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of the thousands of people visiting the castle and gardens, they chose us.
Yeah.
So I feel pretty special about that. That's one of my favorite memories of traveling. But anyways, we saw what was ostensibly, by all metrics, a haunted attraction. Not so much on jump scares, more performative.
Right.
But you could really link this back to like the JC haunts.
Yeah.
With the effects and the guided system and everything else they were doing. And it took place in the basement of the castle.
Yeah.
And they would never call that a haunted attraction. I absolutely would.
Yeah.
It may not be,
And terms matter.
Yeah.
Because we went to a horror house thinking that it would be a haunted house type thing over in Budapest. And that was not what we got. We got a
very, very somber,
heavy.
The house. Yeah,
It was.
Okay, and to be 100% clear, we did know what we were getting into before we got there. We found out. We started looking at it and planned. We budgeted it into our schedule, not knowing what it was. But before we had gone, we found out what it was.
Yes, we looked it up. We saw the name of it, and we're like, okay, we have to, because it had horror house
in the name. Horror, something like that. Yeah.
In the name.
Yeah.
So we looked it up, and we knew that it was going to be about World War
II and a Nazi occupation of Hungary, basically.
Yeah.
And it's every bit as heavy and somber and horrifying as you're probably thinking it is right now.
Yes.
It was, damn.
Yeah. It has one of the creepiest feeling spaces I have ever been in my life.
Yeah. And that's with nothing going on as far as like the activities of the people and the people there. Yeah. Just the history of it.
Yeah.
The history echoes in those halls, is what I would say.
Exactly.
But yeah, those terms matter for that exact reason. That's a good reason you pointed out. And of course, we went to another quote-unquote haunted attraction in Budapest and nearly got locked in a fucking cave overnight.
Yeah. And would have missed our flight.
That's the one I thought you were going on.
No, I was doing the one with the words in the title.
Yeah, you're right, though. You're absolutely right. But anyways, I want to take a moment and shout out here to the Global Scare Network people, GSN. They are working very hard in this space by bringing international haunters together in face-to-face or Zoom face-to-face environments to discuss things, to teach one another, and to help one another, and sort of learn about the challenges and opportunities that exist. Mm-hmm. Really, really good stuff. They've been doing great. So I follow them, Global Scare Network on Facebook. Definitely worth a moment to do that. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, this type of culture is a form. This is a form of cultural ambassadorship, basically. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying we'll be as large as movies or books or comics in that space, but we can have a voice.
Yeah.
And what's going to have to happen is U.S. haunters are going to have to push to open international locations. If you are an U.S. haunter and you have international ties that can do that, and you have the resources to do that, or access to the resources to do that, might be something to look into. But it's also going to require more international outreach. It's going to require more international collaboration, because basically I don't think any other country should have to build their haunt industry from the scratch like the U.S. did.
Yeah, exactly.
We've had 70, prolonged 70, Jesus Christ, probably close to, 90 years of haunt industry.
Yeah.
And starting with home haunts and, peeled grapes, going to the JCs and just rocketing all the way up to the modern time.
Right.
We have this whole history here. I think that we should be willing to part with some of the lessons we've learned in those decades of work. And because I don't think the haunts in England are stealing your customers, is what I'm saying.
No, definitely not. And if you are opening a haunt overseas, just remember that you don't have to adhere to the same seasonal things that we do in the U.S.
Yeah, you're going to have a very different business model there, which is one of the reasons why the Global Scare Network is so great, because those haunts can talk about those exact issues. All right, next up, number 5, a greater a greater variety of experiences. Now, hear me out on this one. If I go to 20 haunted houses per year, and that's easily likely, let's be honest. That's a very realistic number.
Yeah.
In fact, I may be underselling a little bit here. What if I do? But let's just say we do like the Atlanta trip. We go to 9 in 3 days. There are going to be some differences. Some will be contact, others non-contact. Some will take a more extreme edge. Others will be more family-friendly. Some indoor, some outdoor. Some actor-heavy, others animatronic-heavy. Some may be guided, though that's been dying out steadily over our lifetime, and I don't think really exists anymore, but whatever. I felt the need to put it in. And most will be open linear walkthrough. But that's just it. While there will be differences, so much of it is the same. There's going to be a linear walkthrough, like I said, with very limited choice about where you go and how you go. The interactional actors will be limited, focusing mostly on distract and startle. You can trust that it will be generally between about 5 and 30 minutes. The scares will be mostly startles. Exit to the gift shop, bingo, bango, bongo.
Yeah.
And they'll have a lot of the same beats. They'll likely have chainsaw people at the end. They'll likely have some of the similar rooms and similar types of scares.
They'll put the weaker scares in the middle of the haunt.
Yeah.
So you don't remember them.
And the result of this is when we go on a haunt trip like the aforementioned Atlanta one, we have to take notes after every haunt we go to. We literally, we're in the car, one of us is driving, the other is operating the cell phone to record memos.
Right. Exactly.
Because if we do not take those notes, we forget.
Yeah.
They blend together. And now, like in Atlanta, we went to 9 very different haunts. Freaks of Fear is very different from Camp Blood.
Yes.
Camp Blood was different from Netherworld. Netherworld was different from Folklore. And then you can play this game the whole time. But at the same time, they're not so different that they don't just immediately clash into each other and form a mess that I just simply termed the Atlanta Haunt Trip.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, if you go to a haunted house, you know what you're getting into.
Yeah. Pretty definitively.
You know basically
what to
the
expect.
layout. Yeah, what to expect.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I mean, this is one of the things that's kind of weird. It's like we are taking people and dropping them in this fully immersive, interactive experience, and we're having them all do the same thing.
Yeah.
Maybe we can find out ways to mix up the formulas a bit. Okay, I get it. On your most crowded nights when you're running that conga line, you probably don't have as much choice.
Right.
But if we're trying to be more year-round, you're going to have nights with fewer people. Why not introduce different shows on those nights? And here's the thing, Raven's Grin Inn is a good example of this. And they are a beloved haunt because they are so unique. Raven's Grin Inn definitely is a haunted attraction. But it doesn't work like, behave like, feel like, smell like, look like, anything like a haunted attraction you've been to otherwise. It is that different. You recognize it as a haunted attraction, but that's the end of the story.
Yeah.
And also, Scott Swinson's work in Florida with the Vault of Souls.
Right. And he's doing other projects now.
Yeah,
too.
I know he's doing other projects now too. He's been doing a lot of work and pushing this boat out some.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's someone I would definitely be watching in this space. But yeah, can we create a variety of experiences? How is your haunt, at the end of the day, radically different from the haunt down the road? Now, don't say your haunt is scarier or you got better actors or...
No.
That's all matters of opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And
what are concrete ways that you can point to that say nobody else has this?
nobody else, at least in our area, is doing blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
What is that blah, blah, blah? That's your unique selling point. And one of the things I think we as an industry need to start mucking with is the core experience of the haunted house itself. We can do that.
Mm-hmm.
We set the expectations. We determine what a haunted house is.
Yeah.
We just haven't shaken the bag a little bit.
Yeah.
We got some people, like I said, Ravens Grin Inn, Scott's Ones, and a few others that are trying things. But yeah, we have a lot of freedom here. So what can we do with that freedom? Yes, changing it up is going to be a risk. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's real opportunity here. And as much as I didn't like what the Blackout was doing in New York, it was like one person at a time.
Yeah.
And you go through and you experience these things. At least it was a very different take. I'm not sure if it qualifies as a haunted house because I don't think, torture.
Yeah.
Actively torturing your customers.
No, So there are like lines between what qualifies as haunted house, and whenever you go up to those lines and you try to push, you're going to go through them sometimes.
Yeah.
Into other areas.
Yeah.
That's just what happens.
But there's so many. We're trying to entertain through fear.
Yeah.
We're trying to bring joy through fear.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many ways we can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's explore it a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's have a little fun with it. This could be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We can try some new things. And especially now that we've built, like the industry's been all in on building escape rooms and very non-haunt like things. We've got all this experience under our belt of building these non-traditional haunt experiences.
Mm-hmm.
How do we apply it back? How do we make it work? How do we reintroduce that?
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be ways.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I don't know the answers, especially in haunts that have to have a high throughput all the time. But once again, this goes back to the initial problem. If you're only open 6% of the days, yeah, you got to be high capacity.
Yeah.
You don't get to say, yeah, we're only taking 100 customers tonight.
Yeah.
Because the experience we have can only hold 100 customers tonight. You can't do that if you're only open 6% of the nights.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem. So, yeah, maybe that's it. I guess you could jack up the prices insanely high, but that gets its own set of problems. Mm-hmm. Well, the last one
is better inclusivity. We really want to see more inclusivity and diversity, both in the people working inside of the haunts and the stories being told.
Yeah, and this includes gender.
Mm-hmm.
This includes LGBTQ.
Mm-hmm.
This includes people of color. This includes diverse socioeconomic backgrounds. Mm-hmm. This includes everything.
Yeah.
I mean, because one of the things about haunted, and you see this if you go to a haunt convention.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Haunters Against Hate was probably about the most diverse haunted attraction convention I've been to.
Right.
There still were not a lot of people of color there.
It was also the smallest convention we've been to.
Also true. Yeah. One of the things I did learn from that, though, that I thought was really interesting and really helpful, and this was from the talk with Mark Patton, because he talked about how he was the one that played Jesse in Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Right. Which we recently
rewatched.
rewatched.
And I don't understand why people hated Jesse so much. He seemed perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. Maybe not the greatest, but not hateable.
No. So I think it goes into homophobia.
I think it does too, honestly.
I think that's why so many people reacted the way they did.
I would tend to agree. I was perfectly happy with his character and the performance thereof.
Yeah.
Nothing. It didn't light my world on fire, but nothing does these days. I'm getting to be an old man. I turned 42 in 6 days. So
yeah.
So I'm that's right. I forgot. Next week's my birthday. Yay!
Yes, you get to learn the meaning of life and everything.
Did you learn it on yours? Didn't remind you crossed that ribbon before I did. Yes. I don't think you did you? Or are you just keeping it from me? You're not sharing...
keeping it from you until you turn 42.
You now know what's going to happen Saturday, right? You just set it up for yourself. So you better come up with a good fucking answer.
I have it.
All right, but anyways, but the main thing Mark said at his talk was that the character Jesse wasn't meant to be gay or bi or whatever he was. It's kind of left more ambiguous in the movie
Right.
than it was made to sound.
Yeah. Yeah, it was written as a straight character.
Yeah, but his sexuality became much more ambiguous at the very least. And he made the point that was because he was playing it. And, he being there, he being in the room, him influencing, talking to the director, talking to the writers, talking to the people, and playing the character, it came out organically.
Right.
And I believe that.
Yeah. Exactly.
That makes perfect sense to me. So if you want to start fixing all the issues of inclusivity that we have, once again, in story, design, characters, everything, the first place to fix it is by increasing diversity in your cast and in the people you work with. You do that, the rest will happen almost organically over time.
Yeah.
So, and if you run a haunt, and one thing, this is a rough year to say this, I admit, because everyone's already complaining about the struggle of finding workers.
Yeah, I know.
I've already seen multiple posts. So I understand that this is maybe not the best year for this conversation, but try to reach out to local LGBTQ groups. Try to reach out to groups that represent people of color. Try to reach out to these groups directly and see if they can help you recruit actors, makeup artists, etc., from those groups to increase your diversity. Because the more diversity you get in your cast, your crew, in your management and everything, the more that diversity is going to show in everything you do, even unintentionally. Because that's what, and Mark putting that thought in my head was a real bonanza, and that's kind of why, there's been so much talk about corporations need to stop pretending to be inclusive and stop, signaling their inclusivity and start hiring inclusively.
Exactly.
Because if they do that, the rest of it will happen. You put LGBTQ, people of color, you put those people in the spaces where decisions are made, where they can be seen, in the room where it happens, so to speak.
Yes.
Their influence is going to come through in positive ways. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And so, I really, that talk with Mark Patton was a really interesting talk, and it was not recorded to my knowledge. I really wish it had been, because I think that would be one of the more important talks from them. I mean, all the talks we went to were important for different reasons.
Right.
But in terms of inclusiveness and the LGBTQ stuff, that was probably the most important talk. At Hunters Against Hate for me. And I really did not expect that when I went in there, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I only had the vaguest memories. I know I watched Nightmare on Elm Street once upon a time. Please don't ask me when. I remembered elements of it. I remember the pool party, basically.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't remember. I did not see 2. I saw the first one. I saw... my household was weird with what I could and couldn't watch. And by the time 2 came out, I wasn't able to watch horror films anymore.
Which sucks.
Yeah.
But,
so I've been catching up.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was such a great talk. And I went in there not really expecting much of anything. Because like I said, the movie just completely washed off my mind over the years.
Yeah.
But he had a very, very powerful story. Growing up and being a gay actor in a time in which being gay was even more difficult.
Right.
I mean, insanely difficult.
Yeah. Well, and after Nightmare on Elm Street 2, didn't he take like a 30-year hiatus?
He, according to him, he went to Mexico and lived off a dirt road in the middle of a fucking desert with his partner.
Yeah.
I was like, Jesus.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Until somebody brought him back.
Said, hey, Jesse's become like this cult figure now. There's popularity. We want to interview you. We want to talk to you. Come back. And he came back.
Yeah.
That's really the end of it.
Yeah.
That's the short version of the story part, at least. But he tells it so much better.
Oh, yeah. If you ever get a chance to go to one of his talks.
I'll say this. If we go to Hunters Against Hate 3, if there is one, and if we go, and he's there again, I'm going. Yeah. It's that simple. That is a talk I would definitely see twice. Hands down. But yeah, be inclusive with your hiring and your recruiting. The rest will follow.
Yeah.
And look, and that's in the end what this is about is trying to help the haunt industry reach its full potential, and that's full potential in terms of revenue,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of societal / cultural impact,
Right.
and okay, that's the last on the list. It's those two things because you can.
Ahead of yourself.
Yeah, I did. I thought a third point. No, I just said the third point, and that one I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, it should have been in terms of revenue, in terms of cultural impact, and in terms of societal impact. That's how that sentence should have gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, I don't think the haunt industry will ever be quite as big as movies or TV just because of the accessibility of those things.
Mm-hmm.
You will always be able to watch a movie or watch TV or read a book or comic in your own home.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go anywhere. You don't put pants on to do these things.
Right.
Pants are totally optional for most cultural consumption, but they are, at least for the time being, unless you really want to create a very different, unique haunting experience.
No.
Wasn't that one haunt that did a nude run?
Yes.
It seemed like such a bad idea at the time and still seems like one.
Well, after being to, a haunt that had nudity, full nudity, yeah, I think it's a bad idea.
But anyways, yeah, you don't have to put pants on to do those things. We won't have the reach of those. I understand that. But we can have a much bigger presence than we do. And I think fulfilling these 6 dreams would be a huge step on that way.
Yeah, I agree.
On that note, thank you very much for spending the past 50-ish minutes with us. We greatly appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed dreaming with us. And think of ways you can help these dreams become reality. And also, once again, with the question of the week, let us know your dreams. What dream have we not dreamt that we should be dreaming?
Yes.
Let us know. You can let us know at hauntweekly.com or hauntweekly on Twitter, hauntweekly on Facebook, youtube.com/hauntweekly, and anywhere you get your podcasts from. Definitely, if you have not done so already, take a moment, like and follow, or whatever the hell it is these days, the Facebook page, because we will be announcing live recordings soon. I've got to clear some work off my plate for my day job.
Mm-hmm.
But once we do that, we'll be starting to schedule some live recordings. Those will usually be Sunday at 8, but some of our guests that may not work out. So we may have some different times coming up. So stay tuned. We'll be making those announcements soon. But until next time, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And we will see you all next week.